Right, so in this tutorial we're going to take a look at dealing with links and different types of links that editors might have to or might want to create within CRL.edu. We'll take a look at external links, internal links, file links, as well as secure file links, each of which has a slightly different set of characteristics and therefore requires a slightly different procedure when an editor actually creates a link of any given type. I should note that with the exception of secure file links, pretty much any type of link that we're going to look at here can be added or created within any page on CRL.edu. So these are all procedures and techniques that can be used anywhere an editor is working on the website and actually controlling content. So first of all, take a look at external links, which is arguably the most simple case scenario. Now, an external link really just refers to a hyperlink or a normal link to any page elsewhere on the internet. And now to demonstrate this, I'm currently actually just on a web page on CRL.edu. So this is a normal page, a normal live page, and I'm logged in as a editor who has normal power editor access and permissions. So I'm actually just going to take this page and toggle over into edit mode, and what comes up is the standard edit screen and the visual editor here where I can control the body content, and here I have just this kind of outline for the different points I wanted to talk about. I'm just going to use some space above that to do some test link building. So first of all, we'll do an external link. Now the process when building a link of almost any type always starts out the same. Within your content, you're simply highlighting the text that you want to convert into a link, and then looking up here in the toolbar for the link button. And when you click on that link button, up pops the link editing dialog box, and within here you have a number of options and tabs and pull downs and things, but the only thing that you're really ever going to need to touch is this box where you define the URL, or where you define the path to the resource you're linking to. Now in this case we're making an external link, so I need to know what is the path to some other page out on the internet. I could always just type one in directly, such as the home page to CNN, but most of the time I probably am not going to know the full address. Maybe it's a very long address, and I'm not going to really want to type it out, so instead I'll probably need to copy and paste it. Now to do that, I usually like to have a separate tab open within my browser where I can navigate to various pages that I might be linking to and access any of their address and details. So in this case, I have another tab open with the CRL Wikipedia entry. So let's build a link to this page from our test page. Now, here's the path. Obviously, I'd rather not memorize this whole thing, so I'm just going to take the whole thing. I'm going to copy it. So now it's on my clipboard, and I'll just toggle back to my edit page here and repeat that procedure that I started, highlight my text that's going to become a link, click the link button, and now that my text is on the clipboard, I can just simply paste it right in here. Now don't be confused by the fact that you see HTTP part listed here twice. It is part of the link, and it is shown here in this little option pull down menu. This tool is smart enough to know to properly list this with just one bit of text that says HTTP. So in this case I just cut and paste, I say OK, and I'm going to check my work by saving my changes. And now when I follow my link that I just built, no surprise, I end up here on the same Wikipedia page that I intended to link to. So that's fairly straightforward. I think this is something most people are reasonably familiar with. But now we're going to start kind of reuse those same general techniques and repurpose them a little bit to start dealing with these other types of links, internal links and file links. Alright, so as we get into the next type on our list, internal links, it's probably good to start with a definition. An internal link really just refers to a link from a page on a website to another page that's also on the same website. So in our case, we're talking about a link that's on a page on www.crl.edu, but points to another page that's also part of www.crl.edu. And there's some slightly different characteristics involved with this type of link, with an internal link. And to get into that, let's just go ahead and start another example here. So I'm going to edit my test page again, start a new line here. And I'm just going to do the same thing I did before to get started. Highlight the text that I want to turn into a link and go up to my link button. And so I'm presented once again with the same dialog box where I need to fill in the URL. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do things first the wrong way, or the less robust way, which is to just go ahead and do it probably would come naturally or intuitively, and that's just repeat the procedure that we did for an external link. So let's just do that and see what happens. So in this case, I'm going to use my extra tab here to pull up a page that's part of the same website, our website, crl.edu. Let's choose the services page. So we're going to build a link to the services page. If I was doing the same procedure, of course, I would just copy the text out of the address bar and paste it into my link building options here in the URL box. So once again, this is the wrong way. Let's see what happens once I save my changes. See here that immediately I see a warning box which says we found an internal link, but it appears to be formatted incorrectly. So this doesn't mean that we actually broke the link. I mean, the link will work, at least it will work right now, but there are some reasons why this is less than ideal. And it really revolves around the fact that these links, or these addresses and this information that you see up here in your address bar, for example, we just linked to this page /services, these aren't always permanent. There are reasons why this address information can change, even if the page that it represents or points to still exists or hasn't changed. I don't want to get into too many details about why that is. The bottom line is that we do have a better way available to us, because we have something for internal links that we can use called a permalink. And a permalink is really just a pointer to a page, just like the address that you see in your address bar. It's a pointer to the page, but it's permanent. So it has a structure that never changes, even if some other link structures or address structures on the site do change. Let's take a look here at our warning message. It says, please consider revising this so we use the internal paths structure, or the permalink structure. And it says that that is shown in green text at the bottom of the page you want to link to. So we have a reminder here in case we ever encounter this warning. We can just go back to the page that we're linking to, and instead of looking up here in the address bar in our browser, let's go to the bottom of the page and look for some text in green, and it says this is the internal path, or the permalink. You'll see it starts with typically node / some number. It doesn't always follow that pattern. A lot of times that's what you'll see though. The bottom line is you really just want to look here and grab whatever you see here for the path to the page instead of what's in the address bar. And just be sure when you're doing this that you grab the first slash. So grab the whole line of text and copy that. Now let's go back to the page that we were working with here, and let's fix that link we just built and use this more robust permalink structure. So I'm going to go in here, I'm going to right click on my link. That pulls up some options here, and I can go straight to the edit link, and that just takes me back to the same dialog box I was working with before, with the address text that I pasted in earlier filled in for me. I'm going to delete that and instead paste in my permalink structure. We'll say OK, and I'm going to save the changes. So now you see the warning's gone away, and I can test my link, and we'll see that I still arrive on the page I was intending to link to, and my address, the address that appears in my browser bar, is still what it was before, even though I've followed the permalink structure. So this is really just kind of a habit that I think editors need to get into, is that when we're using internal links, we're linking internally, just be sure you take the text, the permalink text, at the bottom of the page, and that might help prevent some problems in the future and make sure that we don't have broken links in the future. So next up is file links. And when we talk about file links, we're really just referring to a link that points to a file instead of another web page. That file could be a PDF, it could be a Word document, whatever the case may be. Typically it'll probably be a PDF, as that's what most of our file links on CRL.edu use. We use a PDF format. But this procedure, working with file links, builds upon the procedures that we've been doing so far with external links and internal links, except it adds a couple of extra considerations. For example, a lot of times our file doesn't yet exist somewhere on the website to be accessed or to be pointed to with a link, so we have to address that, and we have to find a way to somewhat access the files that we're going to link to, since we don't necessarily have the ability to browse to the page we want to link to like we've been doing before by using a separate tab. So we're going to start out the same way by just building an example link here. And as always, we're selecting the text we're going to turn into a link, and we're clicking on the link button. And now we have to figure out, what do we do next? We don't have anything to paste into our URL box because we are dealing with files, so we don't necessarily have a link yet. And in some cases the file may not even be publicly accessible. It might not even be somewhere on the website or on the web server for us to link to, and well, it might just exist on our computer and we need to get it up to the web server. Regardless, no matter what the case may be, we have a tool that helps us manage files specifically, and that tool will pop up here with this via this Browse Server button. So I'm going to click on that, and what comes up is the file browser, and this is just a tool that allows us to navigate a special set of folders that are actually on the web server. And you could think of this a little bit like the like a share, a network share, like the J drive, where you have kind of a common repository that everybody can work with and can store files that that can be used for multiple purposes. So in here, you're always going to see at least two main folders: images and attachments. So these are kind of the root storage locations for images and attachments, depending on which type we're working with at any given time. In our case, we're talking about file links, and therefore we're usually talking about PDFs and other types of files that would be considered attachments. So we're probably working here inside this part of the file browser. Inside, and I'm just going to click on the folder that says attachments to refresh it. Sometimes you have to refresh it, and it pops up a number of subfolders here, and each of these just is kind of for organizational purposes. We've broken it down into different types of attachments, pretty much organized by content type. So if I was happen to be working on a review, right, I might want to be working with files that are stored in the review subfolder of attachments. In my case, I'm just doing a page, a generic page. It's not a special content type. It's just an example page. So let's open up the pages subfolder, and you'll see that inside here is already quite a lot of material. There's already a lot of documents that have been uploaded to the server and may very well already contain pointers or links to them on other pages within the website. For the first case, let's just assume or imagine that the document I want to link to is already on the server. So it's already there, maybe it's used on another page. It's using a link on another page, and I'm just going to link to it again on my new page. So let's just find an example here. Here's a PDF. I'm going to navigate to it and select it. And then I've just said this is the file I'm going to use. Now I need to insert the file as my URL. So I have a button up here where I can just click and say insert. And what that does is it automatically fills in this URL box with the path to that actual file. So you don't have to think about how do you define that path, you know, what's the proper structure for it. It's just there automatically. And I'm going to say OK. So my text has become a link. And then let's go ahead and save this so that we can see what happens. And you'll see that it's kind of been stylized here with this little PDF icon, which is just a nice touch so that users can see that they're actually are linking to a PDF. And when we click on it, there you go, my browser knows how to display PDFs, so it pops up right within my browser and I can actually see the PDF contents. Now when a user does this, what they see is going to depend on how their browser is configured and what it's capable of doing. Some browsers won't know how to display a PDF, so they'll see a pop-up box asking them if they want to save the attachment to their computer. Either way, once they follow the link, they can then access the actual document itself. So in that case, we've used an existing file, but we need to now look at the case, which is probably the more common case, where the file is not yet on the server and we need to get it there. So let's go in once again and build a new file link, or let's just edit the one that we just created. And as before, we can right-click on the existing link and edit it. And I'm going to delete this, because in this case we need to also take our file from the computer that we're working on and get it up to the server before we create the URL. So I'm just going to start fresh and go back to the Browse Server option, which pulls up the file browser once again. Let's refresh the attachments folder and bring up the subfolders. I'm working with pages again because I'm still on just a normal page. It's not a special content type. Okay, so now as I look through here, you know, I don't see the file yet exists, or I already know that it's a new file and it doesn't exist. So I need to get it up to this folder on the server before I can build my link. So now I'm just going to navigate over here to the upload link. And usually when you choose an upload option, usually you'll see some kind of a browse server button or browse computer button, choose file button. That almost universally indicates that I'm going to be opening up a select box where I can then navigate files that are on my computer and pick the one that I want to upload. So I'm here on my desktop. I go ahead and find a file. I find the file that I want to work with. I have one called example PDF. I choose it, and then I go ahead and tell it to upload that. I get a small confirmation saying it's been uploaded, and I see that now it appears in the list. So from here forward, it's just doing the same thing I did with my previous file link. I make sure that my PDF that I just uploaded is selected. I choose the insert button, and it automatically fills in the URL details for me. Say OK. Save changes. And there we go. Now I have a link to the file that I just uploaded. So it's just one small extra step that involves the upload procedure. But the rest is pretty straightforward, and you start to see as you do this more and more that the file browser is a pretty straightforward tool. You just have to get used to navigating the contents and making sure that you know whether or not the file you want to use is already there. So the last thing I want to address in terms of file links is just some general housekeeping, and specifically what to do when we need to update a file that maybe is already on the server. So if we have a file that's already being linked to and we have a new version of that, an updated version of a PDF, and we want our links to point to that instead of the old version, we need to follow a careful procedure to make sure that we do our update properly. And now in order to do that, I'm not working with I'm not building links anymore, so I'm actually going to navigate away from my test page here, and I'm going to show you an alternate way to get to the file browser so that we can work with it. I'm going to go up here in the editor navigation options and just choose my account, and you'll see at the top of the my account screen is a link here, a tab that goes straight to the file browser. So here I can navigate just as before, and I'm going to go back to the attachments folder and then the subfolder pages underneath that, and I'm going to browse to the file that I used in the previous example. I think it was called example.pdf. So let's go and find it. Here it is, example.pdf. So now I have a new version on my computer of example.pdf, and I would like to overwrite this existing version with that. Let's just see what happens if I try to upload it without doing anything else. Here's my new version. I'm going to choose it and say upload, and you'll see immediately a bunch of kind of errors flash across the screen, and that just indicates that there was a file name conflict, and we're being somewhat conservative, and we're not going to go ahead and automatically overwrite that file. We're going to instead do nothing. And that's just a conservative measure just to make sure that people don't accidentally overwrite files they didn't intend to overwrite. Perhaps various files that are different actually share the same name, and as you can imagine, that could create some problems. So instead of just uploading it directly, we need to first delete the version that's already on the server. Now whenever you get into this action of deleting files from the file browser, you want to be really sure that you know what you're doing and that you're working with the right file, you're deleting the right file, because everything that's on here very likely has links pointing to it within various pages on CRL.edu, and of course if we were to delete the wrong file that had links pointing to it, we're going to break all those links. So in this case, I know that once I delete this file, I'm going to immediately replace it with a new version. So it's okay to go ahead and delete it. Make sure I've got it selected, choose delete, and then I have to, of course, confirm that that's what I want to do. I get a confirmation that says it's been deleted and now it's gone. It's not on the list anymore. Now I can go ahead and upload my new version. So there we go. So now there was not a name conflict. Now that's really all I have to do. I don't have to change any of my links. All of my links contain the file name within their structure. So as long as the file name of my new version is exactly the same, every single character is exactly the same as the previous version, then I'm done. Everything is fine. Now that's just another tip. Whenever you do replace a file and you're updating the version, just be really careful that the file name is the same. If you do update the file name, or you upload a version of the file that uses even one character that's different, all the links that we're pointing there aren't going to work. They're very dependent on the name being exactly the same. So I usually like to be very conservative and make sure that I test my links. And so I'm going to go back to my test page. I just happen to have the path, the permalink version of that memorized. And so here it is. And my PDF is a screenshot of the website. But I can see that it still works and everything is fine. So I know that my replacement was safely done. Now our last link building topic is looking at secure file links. This is a special topic that only some editors are going to need to know. specifically those that are working with special content that is locked down or is restricted in some way. An example of that would be the ERO pages, which also contain file attachments. Now, what exactly makes a link secure? Of course, as you know, that oftentimes you might navigate to a page within a website and you'll get some kind of an access denied message, which basically means that the page exists, but you personally don't have permission to access that page. Now, just because a page is restricted does not necessarily mean that the links that are part of that page are restricted. So if somebody knew the link structure to a file that was on, for example, an ERO page, and that was a normal link structure, it wasn't secured, they could still access the file that's part of the page. Let's just look at an example here on our test page. So we've got a file link on our test page. Let's pretend that I was somebody that didn't have access to this test page. So I couldn't see this test page. If I tried to go to this address in my browser, it would show me that I have access denied. However, since this is a normal file link, this is not a secure file link. If I knew the path to this file, so I'm going to go ahead and copy that path. Let's say for some reason I could guess it, or somebody else told me what it was. I could always go to my browser and paste that path directly into the address bar. And now I've just opened up my PDF. Because this PDF isn't secured, I was still able to access it by knowing the path. And that's because this is not a secure file link. This is not a lockdown document. So we're going to look at making it a lockdown document. Now I'm on my test page again. I'm going to add a new link via the edit mode. But instead of working within the body content, I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to look for a new field here that simply says file attachments. Here it is right here. Now you're only going to encounter this on certain content types, most notably ERO content types. Here it's not, the details aren't shown to me. I have to expand the options to see the details. So this type of field, this file attachments field, is only being used for secure files. This is not related to the file browser. This is a separate special type of field. Getting the file up to the server is fairly straightforward. I have an option here to attach new files. I have a choose file button. This goes to my local computer, so I'm browsing the desktop on my local computer. I'm going to go ahead and use the example PDF document once again, and I'm gonna upload that here as a secure file. So I say choose, and now I have to click the attach button. So now it's uploaded the file, and it's uploaded it to a special location on the server that's completely independent of the files and folders that we have available to us in the file browser. I see a couple of checkboxes here, which I'll get into in a moment. For now, I'm just going to accept the defaults, and I'm going to save this page with the defaults. So before I do, you'll see that I haven't built a link. I haven't been doing anything with a URL structure. I've simply attached this file to this page with this special field. You'll see here that there is some link URL information shown for the file that I just uploaded, but there's a special kind of gotcha here. What is shown to you immediately after you upload the file is not correct. So this information here is not the actual path to this file. And the reason that I'm not seeing the correct information is because I have to first save this page for the system to lock the file down and recalculate its path in the secure form. So before I do anything else, I'm just going to save my page. Now, what we see at the bottom of the page is a new box here that says attachment, and listed is my example PDF document. So it's here, and it is secured. It is basically taking on whatever security permissions that this page has applied to it are now applied to the link itself. So I've created a secure file and I've attached it. Now, this is fine, but a lot of times you may want to display the file in context with the rest of the page. You don't want it just listed in a table down at the bottom of the page. So I'm going to make some changes, and I'm going to go ahead and build the link to that file within the body of the page. Let's scroll back down to the file attachments options, and let's take a look at these checkboxes. So you'll see that the list box is automatically checked by default. I'm going to uncheck that, and that simply means that it's not this attachment is not going to be listed at the bottom of the page anymore. Now, the private checkbox is always something that you want to leave checked. This just tells the system that yes, this is a special type of file that needs to be locked down accordingly. And then this delete checkbox is only going to be used if you're actually going to delete this file and maybe replace it with something else. So now that I've saved my page once, the system has properly locked the file down and has calculated the appropriate path for it, and that's shown below. So now I can take this path and I can use it to build links, to build custom links within other parts of my page. And again, as a reminder, this is only correct, what you see here is only correct after you've saved the page once. Now I want to take this text and I'm going to use it as my URL for building a link in the body of the page. So the second trick that's important to keep in mind is that when I do that, I only want to copy the text that appears after the www.crl.edu part. So I'm going to copy the remainder of the text to the right of that, including the first slash. And now I'm going to scroll up to the part of the page that I want to edit, and I want to create my link within the content. And now I'm following the procedure that I'm familiar with internal links and external links. I'm going to highlight the text that I want to turn into a link, click the link button, and now I'm pasting that text that I copied from below in that file attachment field as my URL, and I say OK, and I'm going to submit my changes. And it appears just as before. It's with a little PDF icon and everything, except because I followed those extra steps and uploaded the file to the server via that special method, I can be confident that the file is actually locked down. And we're going to take a quick look and see and actually prove that to ourselves and try to access this file without having the correct permissions. Okay, so let's now have a look and just see how these links function for different types of users with different access. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a copy of the insecure version and the secure version of the link. I'm going to go ahead and try to access those files as a non-privileged user. So at the moment I'm logged in as a editor, as a privileged user, and as a result I have access to this page. I've taken the time before recording this to lock this page down, and I'm not really going to get into the specifics of how you lock certain pages down. Really what I've done is I've just set this page up to act like an ERO page, so it's not available to the general public. ERO pages automatically have restrictions applied to them just by the nature that they are an ERO content type. So we're just sort of pretending that this is an ERO page. I want to pull over, I'm just going to bring over a text editor here so I can just copy my links and reuse them later while I'm logged off. So let's see, let's copy the insecure version first. And then I'm going to grab the secure version. You'll see that the format's slightly different, and that's just the way the system can differentiate which files are secure and which are not. So now that I have those, I'm just going to log off. And now that I'm logged off and I don't have any special permissions, I'm basically acting now as a completely anonymous user. I'm going to go back to that page that test page I was working with. Now, because I am not an authorized user and this page is special, I get my access denied message. That's great. That's exactly what I should get. But now let's take a look and see what happens if I know the link structures of file links that appear on this page. I can't see those links. I can't click on them with my mouse because the page is restricted. But if for some reason I knew what they were, somebody else told me what they were, whatever, I could still try to access them. So I'm going to pull up my saved versions here. This is the non-secure version. Let's put that directly into my browser bar. And you'll see that it pops up. Here it is. So even though I couldn't access the page with the link on it, I can still access the actual PDF file that was linked on that page because it was not secured. Now let's then take a look now at the secure version. And there we go, I get an access denied message. So it's taken that path, it's looking at this special private path, and it's doing some extra checking before it actually tries to send the file to the user. It says which page is this file attached to, and does this user have the permissions associated with that page. If they can't view the page, then we shouldn't show them the file, and we should just deliver the access denied message. So this is the intended behavior to properly keep a file secure via any access attempt. Okay, so lastly, I just want to take a look at some housekeeping notes about secure file links. We looked at that in terms of normal file links and how you could, for example, replace a version of a file within the file browser and replace an old version with a new version. So I want to have a look and see how we can do the exact same thing with secure file links. Now, unfortunately, the process for secure file links is a little bit more involved, a little bit more complex, but as I noted, secure file links are really only applicable for certain types of content. Now in this I've logged back in, so now I'm visiting my test page again as a logged in editor, and so I don't see the access denied message. I'm going to edit the page, and I'm going to scroll down firstly to the part of the page where I was dealing with file attachments. So here I see the file attachments, I see my example PDF document is still listed here. What I want to do is replace this with a new version. So what I'm first going to do is delete this old version. And in order to do that, I have to check the delete box, and that doesn't actually do anything. It doesn't actually remove the attachment from the page until I save the page. So you'll see when we're working with secure file attachments, we're constantly having to kind of resave the page to make our attachment changes apply. So let's go back now and open up edit mode again. Now here's the trick. Because even though I deleted that, so I open up my file attachments and I see that there's nothing shown there, it doesn't actually mean that the file has been removed from the server. So there's still a file, a secured file called example.pdf that's in the secure folder on the server. It's just not related to this page anymore. Now what that means is that when I go and upload my new version, so here it is, example.pdf, it appears as it did before. However, the file name will not necessarily be maintained. And that's just a unique characteristic to these secure files. So let's go ahead and apply our same settings that we had before. So I'm not going to list it at the bottom of the page. And as I noted, I can't trust anything that's shown here until I save the page. This path information is not yet correct. So let's save. I'm going to go back to edit mode once again and back down to my settings here. Now let's take a look at the path. So now we see that, okay, now I have the correct secure file format, but look at the name of the document in the path. It's example_1, and that just means that there was an example.pdf file in the secure folder on the server, and instead of overwriting it, it's just created a new version under a new file name. And again, this is really behavior that's only specific to secure files. So here's the important part. Because the file name is changed in the actual URL, my link, if I built a link to this file manually in the body, that is no longer going to function. It is no longer going, it is not going to point to the new version of my file. So I have to take one additional step and actually go ahead and change that as well. So I'm just going to do as I did before. I'm going to copy the path to this new version of the file, and I'm taking everything after the CRL.edu part, including the slash. Copy. I'm going to scroll back up. I'm going to look for my secure file link, and I'm going to edit that. I'm just going to go ahead and paste in the new link to the new file. Okay, so now it's using this example_1 format. So there we go. So unfortunately, it was a little bit of a drawn-out process, and I had to upload a new file with a new file name and change all the links that pointed to that file. But as long as I'm somewhat diligent about that process, I can be assured that my new version is what's going to be encountered when people follow this link, and that my new version is also locked down and takes on the security characteristics of this page the same way that the old one did. I'll save my changes. And now the process is complete, and I have my updated version shown here via my link.